This is the fabulous Eustace Neumann, who lives half his life on Bruny Island, an amazing property, and the other half being a star in Vienna, where people are just in awe of his talents. And he comes out here and kind of hides under a tree, and nobody really knows how well regarded he is. Hans-Peter, we're very lucky, as Hans-Peter Horner is the director and co-writer of the work, and he's out from Vienna at the moment because they're working on their next show, yes? On Bruny Island. And so let's go to this show, the Alzheimer Symphony. What was the idea that generated and grew to become the show?
So, as I thought, well, we're getting older. I'm facing problems, the back, the mind, and so I'm confronted with aging like everybody else. But with the theatre, I have the chance to sort of do some research, see how I can transpose or to transfer this fear that we all have naturally in us into something productive.
And so we met some people, a doctor in a hospital, and there we saw also really old people living really in a interior, was that Umgebung?
In an environment.
In an environment from the 60s.
There was one lady I remember, she could never find her doors. So they thought, how can we make her find the doors? So they put up a, you know, when she went to school, she went on the tram number 10. And that tram number 10 at the station had a special sign. The 10 was almost an Art Deco kind of number 10. So they put that sign above her door, and from then on, she found her room all the time. We work with improvisation. The first part is that we research, and then we sort of have it in here. And then we start improvising. Hans-Peter takes the camera and gives me a task. How does he walk? How does he speak? What age is he? A little story from your childhood. And I improvise, and after having 30, 40 hours of film, we then say, this is good, we could pick this, and we cut it together to roughly 1.5 hours. Then we read it, we'll look at it, and again we try to define and say, here's something missing, here we need to have more of this, and then once it's finished or sort of finished as a script, then we go back and learn it again. Then I learn it by heart, and then we start to rehearse for something like 4 to 6 weeks and try to get what happened in the moment, in the improvisation. We try to regain these moments and sort of play them. Hopefully as good as it was, as it came natural in the first improvisation.
And so in the past, what would happen, if I've got this right, the Viennese government would often give you the money to make a work. Then Eustace would come to his property at Bruny Island, invite his collaborators, which includes Wolfgang Kalal, the technical designer, and Hans-Peter, and they would work on Bruny Island to create it, and then pack it up, pop it in a shipping container, go to Europe and spend how many weeks?
8 weeks is roughly.
Perhaps one part of our group is also Greg.
Oh, and
he is from Hobart.
Yes.
Yeah, not originally, but...
So it's a truly international collaboration. Yeah. So Greg is a local designer. He was the designer at Terrapin Puppet Theatre and still is for many, many years. So that's the kind of core creative team that make the work, tour to Vienna, and play it in the circus tents and the festivals and win lots of awards and do that kind of thing. And then come back here, and often these shows were done in German, and that might be the end of it. It might get a little play here, but they didn't always go much further. So this is why, I mean, it's a secret to know that Eustace has been on the island making these beautiful works, and they really haven't gone very far afield in the Australian context. So this show previewed in a little tent that Eustace built, a beautiful little tent. It's kind of the mini Spiegel tent of Tasmania. And I went over to see it on Bruny Island in German, and kindly Eustace had put up some subtitles for the visitors so that we could follow the story. And it was instantly a captivating production and so exciting that we really wanted to tour it. So Eustace and Hans-Peter and Julius, I assume, helped make a translation. So what you'll see is obviously the English version of the show. But one of the wonderful things about all of your shows are the contraptions and the design world, the environments that they sit in. And this is Greg Methey, the local designer's work in collaboration with the team.
When we started to think about Catapult, Catapult, that was a circus that I made and I stood with my circus tent on the Parliament lawn. I approached Greg and he made some wonderful catapults and some horse racing devices. I don't know, maybe someone has seen it or heard. It's absolutely fantastic. He is a genius. He is an absolute genius here in Tasmania, and he knows everything about
engineering and
mechanics. And so we said, look, in this isolation of this Alzheimer guy, whose name is Ferdinand, this Ferdinand lives in his world. So how can we get his world where he has to make his coffee, where he wants to have a shower, where he's got his library? How can we put that into a little planet, into a little... so he made us a kind of a trolley. It's like a wheelchair that all around has got kitchen, bathroom, table tennis, all these things that work absolutely perfect. I cook myself ham and eggs and have toast on stage, and it sort of gives the whole play an artistic, or it gives it this, on one side, this loneliness of the person, and yet that he can do anything. He can still do anything.
Shakespeare, that's another kind of common thread through a lot of your work, and this one starts with a speech from King Lear. What's the...
Well, we said what do we establish? This character, what is he? Where does he come from? How can we establish this forgetfulness that all of a sudden disappears? And I, as an actor, know that the fear of losing my lines or forgetting my lines is always present. And so we thought it's an elderly actor, a King Lear, an actor who plays King Lear, who in the middle of this famous monologue out of Act 3, Scene 2, blow, winds blow, crack your cheeks. He forgets this line on stage. And this is the starting point. He then tries to revisit the words through the whole play until it comes into a how would you describe that?
It goes full circle, really, the way he approaches it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense anymore, but it doesn't matter. We had in Vienna quite a number of performances with younger people and discussions afterwards. And because nowadays they all have a grandmother or a grandfather or someone in their family, not all of them, but many of them, they appreciated this performance very much, also because it's not a sad sort of a dragging down performance. There is so much childlikeness in these people, and that comes out in the character, and it is sometimes extremely funny. It's right on the edge between tragic and comedy. Sometimes you cry, sometimes it's hilarious. So it's got that, and young people appreciate that.
Well, you mentioned earlier Julius, Ava's son. What's his role in the show?
And so he sat in the rehearsals, slowly came up with ideas. We started talking about Schubert, about Schubert's music. We transformed Schubert's unvollendete, unfinished, symphony. He started to work with it on his electric guitar, on a normal guitar, and instead of being, let's say, putting music to the words, he put a musical landscape to the words. So it's not like a song, or here is a sad word, we put a sad tone in. It's sort of a vibration that goes through the whole piece, which really, I think, hits the point, the confusion of Ferdinand in his little chair. And that is really something very special in regard to music accompanied in a play.
And I totally agree. There's that thing of muzak, you know, that's just on the side and tripping along. And this one is much more, it's almost like it captures the emotional energy that Ferdinand's experiencing, and there's a vibration between you and the audience through the music. So that's a beautiful part of it. And there's some of the original Schubert's Unfinished Symphony as well. So you get Julius's integration with the classical work as well.
A moment of Ferdinand.
What about those 13 minutes? No, you got to buy a ticket.
Well, at one stage he says, and I've got it in German, all right? I got it there. The first cow I ever... No, that was later. The first cow. When did I see my first cow? With grandmother. On Sundays, when we drove through the country with grandmother and there was a cow standing in the paddock, she would always scream, "Look, a moo cowie." Every animal we saw had an E at its end. Horsey, doggy, sheepy, rabbit. Rabbit. No, it doesn't work. The E doesn't work with rabbit. That's very important. The E doesn't work with rabbit. Rabbitly. Bunny! That works. The Easter egg hunt with grandmother was an ordeal. Eggy, jockey for Ferdinandi. I didn't find anything on purpose.
I think that's a lovely note to wrap on. A big thank you again to Fuller's, to the Theatre Royal, to the Tasmanian International Arts Festival, but most importantly to you guys. All these years of work and creativity and passion mean nothing unless there's an audience to share it with. So if you're interested in the show and you've enjoyed the conversation, or you come to see it and you love it, please share that around. Thank you very much for coming, for enjoying this space, and I believe if you want to have a look at the bookshop on the way out, you're welcome to do so. Good night. And thank you.